Cops of Reddit, what is the most corrupt thing you've seen done by a co-worker on the job? Guy I used to work with kept searching people on justifiable grounds. But they were on the thin side. For 3 searches running. The guys claimed that he stole either their money or drugs. Apparently he had a spotty history with similar allegations. Nobody ever actually came forward to make the complaint. I reported it. But if the victim doesn't report it, then there is nothing they can do. I am assuming they contacted the victims since we had their details on file. But I'm not entitled to details of the investigation. Thankfully that FK is long gone for some other bullshit. His wife is a detective and mysteriously some drugs went missing twice which he blamed on me. However, investigation showed that I was not the last person to have touched them. And it seemed like she was trying to get back at me. She got investigated for those missing drugs. They amazingly turned up again, fallen behind a shelf in the property store which she found. I'm not a cop. But this is the best misuse of police power I have personally witnessed. Years ago, during a particularly cold and snowy winter, I was coming home late one night early morning. The streets were pretty clear, as it had snowed right after an ice storm. And the roads were coated with a combination of black ice and compacted snow. As I am slowly driving down the road, I see someone in the distance spinning out and doing donuts in the middle of a 4-lane avenue. Not out of control. Just slowing doing spin-outs in the middle of the street. As I get closer, I notice it's a local city cop car. Just when I notice it's him, he must have noticed I was coming towards him because he recovered from his spin and pulled off into the closest side street. I pass where he pulled in and continued on my way. After I get about a quarter mile away, I see him in my rearview mirror pull back out onto the street and start doing his spin outs again. I laughed all the way home. Turn away a victim of domestic violence for a bullshit excuse. Then later on message them over social media to ask for a date. Read a memoir by a rookie detective who was tasked with investigating a possible serial killer. As the case dragged on for years with zero progress, she eventually got the extra manpower she had been arguing for. But the new cops on the case fixated on the wrong suspect and intentionally withheld evidence from the lead investigator in the hope of taking credit for their collar. In the meantime, dozens of prostitutes were brutally murdered. One of their aunties, working alone with no resources at all, managed to identify the killer and locate the scene of the crimes, but was ignored by police, who failed to arrest the man for a couple more years. During the investigation, a victim managed to escape with multiple stab wounds, ending up being treated at the same hospital as the killer. She had stabbed him back, and the police let him go free without charges. A friend of the killer reported him to police, and they still made no arrests. Anyway, the writer ended up with PTSD, and I almost got it myself from reading her book. All these guys were fired, so that's good. 2 were direct co-workers. The others were neighboring departments. Took custody of stray cat. Instead of properly handling it, he took it to a field and shot it. Then lied about why. Took custody of stray cat. Instead of handling it properly, just released it. And then lied about it. Used his position of authority to get SX stuff from a subordinate civilian employee and other casual sexual harassment. Wrote out tickets to parked cars and then paid the tickets himself. Because he became mental and needed to look like he was doing something without being confrontational with other people anymore. Got addicted to opiates and started stealing from evidence room. Got addicted to opiates and started stealing from evidence room. Nobody does any illegal shit around me because I announce early and often that I'll roll on them if they FCK up. I provide examples as well. I'm not getting hemmed up over someone else's bullshit. Not cop but security. Found out after he was arrested that a co-worker was stealing state laptops. Because it had state confidential information, the NSA also went after him. Dumbus 19-year-old somehow found a good enough lawyer to put him on house arrest with his parents. Wish I'd kept his number just to find out who the lawyer was. Saul Goodman. Not a cop, but worked for the courts at the time. The chief of police was fired and there were allegations he sexually assaulted a woman he arrested, and he was also extorting money. There's a pending FBI investigation about stealing drugs while working on a narc team. I need to look it up and see what happened with that. Son of a police officer in Germany here. Tons of small shit. Stealing from each other. Deliberately drawing a produce out to make the other person late, etc. But the worst. Superiors strategically bullying others if they dislike them or are jealous. The absolute worst is probably when they are in training and get their guns. Father was a cop. One of my favorites is that the first sheriff he was under started his day with a case of beer in his office. The 7 AM patrol shift would show up early and help him with a beer before going out on the road. The 70s were a different time. Another good one is when a female LT grabbed the male Sarge by the balls and threatened to squeeze them if he didn't get on board with some questionable policy she was implicating. Wrong word. Correct one close but is escaping me. I've seen my co-workers be complete and utter pieces of shit. But nothing actually corrupt comes to mind. UK dude here. Not me but my father. When we were younger we had planned to go to a big indoor water park. Wet n Wild. I don't remember what the occasion was, but something like a birthday. Anywho. On said day his car broke, so instead of letting us down he got a friend to take him to work and he borrowed an undercover police car for the day. Needless to say they found out and I believe he got demoted for it. I was young though. Not a cop, but the most corrupt thing I've personally seen cops do was back in 2001, before camera phones, in San Francisco. Me and my friends were DJing this after party and the SFPD showed up to bust it. The two hostesses went out to try and talk them out of the raid. I watched from a second story window as they chatted. And then the two male cops pulled out a roll of circular SFPD stickers. They proceeded to paste the stickers on the breasts of the hostesses and grope the shit out of their tits. Then they left laughing and the two girls came in all freaked out. We called the SFPD complaint line but absolutely nothing happened. My friend even got a letter to the editor about the incident published in the, now defunct, Bay Guardian newspaper and absolutely nothing happened. Definitely not a cop, but this is the infamous Windows 95 scam a lot of Melbourne cops were in on back in 1994-5. Shop windows get smashed every now and again in cities at night and they need to be repaired immediately. This is lucrative work for glaziers. And some started paying spotters fees to the person that reported the damage. This came out of the exorbitant fees they'd charge. Cops started smashing windows in stores themselves to claim the finder's fee. It got big. And started costing stores and their insurers a shitty load. At least it wasn't as bad as the Windows Vista scam. I used to work for a company that had a contract to do work with the city we live in. The company owner used to be on the city council, but recused himself once he got the city contract. The city had a bond issue for schools funded by sales tax. After the bond expired past the time that it was approved, they kept the sales tax going and gave the money, $7 million, to my boss in the form of a no-interest loan. Last year the FBI raided the mayor's office and everybody got indicted because they had been doing stuff like that all over town. The city is Beaumont, California, as anybody wants to look into it further. Nice try, Captain. Repeated theft of tens of thousands from the Boeing company. An entire crew of mechanics corroborating with a manager to receive little to no work, as well as leaving work and in some cases not even showing up while still being paid. Oh come on, Sessions. You're not even trying now. Pray to Molag Bal. People who use novelty accounts. Like why? Do you think everything is a joke? It gets pretty irritating and most of them are just trolls. Wrong thread, buddy. Oh, I love these types of questions as usually cops will never admit to anything unless you're in their little circle. I'm not a cop, but I work with cops often. And I've seen cops steal petty stuff, officially lie to me, other people and in their reports. break laws and admit to me ridiculously fked up shit they've done to people without any remorse, usually bragging in a sadistically jokey manner.